Hello, interwebs, and welcome to the Frak This podcast, most certainly not the Jumpgate podcast. I am your birthed host, Jesse Gender, and I am joined as always by, wow, the look Vera just gave me.
Birthed? Okay. I didn't know we were headed there, but I can work with it. It's Vera. How's everybody doing?
I love how you say, how's everybody doing? You're speaking to nobody except for me, so.
I get to acknowledge the audience. I can break the fourth wall.
You're not allowed to break. You don't give them attention. They don't deserve it.
I think they've been very good and deserve some wonderful treats of attention and affirmation.
You're too easy.
Good
audience.
Easy,
Vera. Audience, you've been very bad, and I'm disappointed in you.
You can shush.
I gotta click. Well, it is my birthday tomorrow, so I am very excited about that.
Happy early birthday.
I'm just turning 22, so what a shock.
Feel free to get out of your denial phase at any point. Look, it was cute when, the people who were my age got into their 20s going, I'm turning 25 again. And I'm like, okay, that's cute. But, I'm in my 40s. I like being my age. Will the rest of you just, get over it?
Yeah. I will say I did have a nice moment where I met one of my actors, the lead actor from my episode of Subliminal, John Rubenstein. We went out for lunch the other day just to talk about the episode and meet and chat. And he looked at me. And he's like, how old are you? You're young people. You're what, 22, 23? And I'm like, oh shit. You're so kind. And I'm like, I'm 33. He's like, oh, you look like my kid who's 19. And I'm like, oh, man, that feels good.
I mean, HRT, man, estrogen's a hell of a thing.
It's magic. It's certainly magic. Yeah. I feel like I'm 105, to be fair.
Well, that's called just living in the present.
Yeah. So, time goes ever onward, but it is technically relative. So,
Yes, it's a annoying wibbly wobbly bitch.
There was this cool. This has been my hyperfixation recently. Is space shit. I've been hyperfixating on black holes and reading a bunch of books on them and everything. But one cool paradox that I read. It's called the Andromeda paradox.
Okay.
And it goes into how time is relative. And based on, I don't know the fucking math on it, so just don't ask me the math. But according to the paradox, because time is relative, and you know how time dilation works, where it's the faster you're moving, the different time moves differently for you.
I mean, I understand the concept. I don't know how it works.
Yeah. Physics is weird. The more I learn about physics, I've been reading a bunch of books on it, it's I understand a lot more of it. It's very interesting, but I'm also just wow, it really is weird how the universe just works on these very fucked up, weird rules that just feel again, a very, there's no more argument for the existence of God to me than just these rules are weird. Someone just made a weird, fucked up physics engine for a video game, and we're all just living in it.
Physics as we understand them break down when you go either really small or really big. The rules that seem to apply to everything in the standard scale break down at the extremes, which is weird.
And I listen to people talk about black holes, and they're just well, once you're in the black hole, the singularity at the center of the black hole is no longer a place in space; it's a place in time. You just move towards it in time. It's like trying to escape tomorrow. I'm like, what the fuck does that mean? Physics makes no goddamn sense. Anyways, this Andromeda paradox, it's kind of fascinating where you and I could technically be standing in the exact same place, and we looked up at Andromeda. Let's say we could see Andromeda, clearly, the galaxy. And Andromeda's so far away, and even if we're in the same exact spot, if I was running and you were standing still, and we ended up in the same spot and looked at Andromeda, the way time dilation shit works, I would be seeing Andromeda a day in, I think, the future than you would, even though we're in the exact same spot. Just based on weird time dilation shit and how far away Andromeda is. And yeah, time is fucking weird. Physics is fucking weird.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's just absolutely strange. So, yeah, no, it's been a weird hyperfixation that I've been focused on. I don't know how we got onto that, but it was interesting. Well, what we should probably tell God if he or she or they did in fact make the universe is that they should go home. They're drunk. And speaking of which, we're talking about the
episode called Drunk.
Yes, exactly. Called Go Home, You're Drunk, Adama. No, Home Part 1. I'm actually very frustrated because we're watching only Part 1. And then we're taking like a 2 or 3 week break because I'm going to be in New York City. And part 2 of this is like a big episode that I'm excited to get to. So we got to wait a fucking long time for us to get to it. So I'm frustrated.
Sucks to be you.
I know.
Well, sucks to be me because I'm going to forget everything between now and then.
Yeah. Yeah, listeners, between this recording and the next recording, you'll hear of us. It'll still be just a week for all of you, but it'll be a 3-week break between now and then for both of us because I'm going to be in New York City filming and stuff. So.
Yeah.
Well, let us, I don't have any new comments to read because it would just be the same comments for the episode we did last time because, again, we're recording ahead of time. So let us just get into our recap of the episode. We start off with Adama in CIC, sort of talking to Ty and Dee. He's sort of walking through, and we get a kind of reiteration of what we learned last week, which is 18,000 souls went with Rosalind back to Kobol, which is a third of the fleet. And Adama sort of asks, what did we lose? And Dee starts, like, explaining again, like, people that were lost. But then Adama sort of reiterates, like, no, not who we lost, what? I'm not interested in people who joined up with a religious fanatic and a terrorist. And Dee sort of lists off a bunch of the things that the ships that were lost, and sort of the big one is a mining ship that went with them. That was a blow, as Ty says. And then also talks about some collateral damage about how morale is down throughout the fleet. Families is split apart, and Adama says, "Don't talk to me about family."
I mean, like,
to Lee.
Adama he's obviously kind of expressing it in a bit of a dickish way, but like it was kind of odd to me. Like, it felt mildly contrived that the first information that Dee was giving him was like number of people. Like, tactically, he needs to know what resources does he no longer have. Mm-hmm. It feels like one of those things where, like, she starts giving him the information that actually doesn't make sense to be the first set of information that is given to him just to set up this conversation to go a very specific way. It's one of those slightly off feeder lines that's just used to shape the conversation.
I again, playing devil's advocate based on stuff that
because you can't not.
I can't not. I have to devil's advocate every fucking thing based on stuff Dee does later. I could believe that she maybe presented the information this way intentionally.
Possibly, I don't know. In my brain, like, knowing the situation that they're in and liking to think she's good at her job, like, the way that I would have threaded this needle was she gives the information about the ships and then starts to immediately lead into the numbers and the people, and he cuts her off.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, fair enough. But yeah, the one thing that feels more forced to me is the mentioning of, like, families split apart, and I'm like, really? Are families split apart based on
like,
ships?
It is like, I suppose, like, it's feasible.
It could.
Well, in my mind, like, it's feasible if we're talking about people with adult kids, because you would imagine anyone with kids, they'd all be on the same ship. There's no reason for them
it's been long enough for that people should have, like, filtered through to, like, where they're staying.
Yeah, like, families should have reunited. They've had enough points of downtime over a long enough period that it shouldn't be the case where, like, my 8-year-old's on this ship, but I'm over here. Like, that should have been sorted. So, like, yeah, I guess it is possible that, like, adults with adult children are now split apart. But then again, like, that's not what I think of when you say the phrase family split apart, because it's like, you're already not living together. So, yeah, that is a little... I get that it's, like, it's the theming and they're going to go in on it hard, but it's as a theme, it is introduced clunkily.
Yes, it is. Yes. Well, we go from that scene to Lee speaking to, I'm assuming the Quorum 12 or whatever's sort of left of the Quorum 12 that is on the Astral Queen.
I'm not even sure it's the Quorum of 12. It seems to be representatives from each ship.
Yeah, I guess that's probably the better way to put it.
More people than the Quorum of 12 because they only represent the 12 colonies.
Yes, which again makes politically more sense anyways at this point. But
Yeah,
Quorum 12 is still what we're holding on to.
Yeah,
also.
it really does. We'll get into the scene. My first note was these folks are oddly unchill, given that they all voluntarily signed up for this.
Yeah, I mean, again, devil's advocating. Sorry, I know it's going to become a meme at this point. I would argue that we don't necessarily see it, but I could see that they got unchill in the sense that they arrived there following Roslyn, and then they would have, like, everyone would have assumed Starbuck would have been back by now. Like, they would have caught there, and Starbuck already would have been there, and Starbuck's not there, and so now they're all like, what the fuck, what do we do? And so that's why they're a little unchill.
Like, I can't imagine the circumstances under which we got here. Like, if they thought there was more of a plan than there is, but the episode also doesn't show us that.
No, it doesn't.
So,
But
I'm not saying that I
imagine.
don't believe it happened. I am going to say that would have taken 20 seconds to show. I think you could have shown me that.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, we also get the introduction of a new character who is Zarek's sort of second in command, named Myers.
Hey, it's James Remar.
Oh, what is he from? I didn't recognize him at the time.
I know him best from Dexter because he's
that would be why I don't. 'Cause I've never seen
he's
Dexter.
Harry, so he's Dexter's adopted father. He shows up mainly in flashbacks and or kind of hallucination stuff. Like he's just been around for ages. He's been around. And he's been in everything.
He was in X-Men First Class. Yeah, he's one of those actors that's been in everything.
Yeah, he was in X-Men First Class. The one that I get a laugh out of was he replaced Christopher Lambert for Mortal Kombat Annihilation. He played
I
Raiden.
just saw that. I saw that too.
Oh,
and
poor guy.
What's funny is he plays generals a lot too, because I'm looking at like he's
got
X-Men
that
First
military
Class.
face.
Yeah, X-Men First Class, he was just United States General. He was also in Blade Trinity. He was FBI agent Ray Cumberland. So,
Yeah.
like, he just plays like government guy. United States Customs agent in Too Fast, Too Furious.
Yeah, like he's one of those guys that just has like authority figure face. So he gets cast like I think Harry in Dexter is by far the thing that he got to like dig the most into as an actor. Because otherwise like he is good enough that he gets like out of the collection of like FBI agents, he's the one who gets the lines as opposed to the background guys who just get to stand there. But like he does just have a face that means he gets cast a lot as cops, as military people, as government agents. Like he just has that essence.
Yeah, he also was in you talked about Dexter, which he was in for a significant amount, but he's also in Jericho and Eli Stone, which are shows I want to do a video on at some point because both of those shows are kind of forgotten and they're really kind of fun shows.
I remember that shows with those names existed.
Jericho was fun. I won't get on a sidetrack. Jericho is actually the first show that I did a podcast for. There somewhere on the internet there exists a 13-year-old me talking in a podcast about Jericho. And my YouTube channel actually technically started when they canceled Jericho season 1 and people were fighting for Jericho season 2, and I made a bunch of music video things. So I think I privated them all, but there are old Jericho music video that I did as a kid when I was learning editing. But yeah, Jericho's a fun show. It's set after United States gets nuked by some unknown enemy, and it's set in a small town.
Yeah, not to tangent or anything.
No, not at all. It's very similar, except for it's not in space essentially, and it's set in a small town. And then Eli Stone is a bonkers show that I 100% want to do a video on because it is wild. It was just to get it started. Johnny Lee Miller of Hackers fame, who I fucking love. I love Johnny Lee Miller. And he played a lawyer who had a brain aneurysm and starts to see music, musical moments to start happening every episode that seem to point to how to help him solve lawyer cases. And the question ends up becoming, is it God or not? Is he actually having visions or not? Is he a prophet or not? And it's actually a very heartwarming show because it's one of those he's like cutthroat lawyer in the world of business, but actually he starts changing the firm around to becoming like heartwarming and sweet, and they take pro bono cases, that sort of thing. The weird thing about it, though, as a bonkers thing, is that God was played by George Michael. And a lot of the music they used in the show was by George Michael, including "You Gotta Have Sex," which was one of the songs that they did in one episode. So yeah, it was a bonkers ass show.
Okay.
Also starred Victor Garber, which was also kind of fun. He played the sort of father. He was Johnny Lee Miller's father-in-law and head partner of the firm, which is kind of fun.
I do like me some Victor Garber.
Mm-hmm. So just a wild show. Anyways, he was in it. Back to this though. We talk about Lee. Lee's talking to sort of the whatever we'll call it, the heads of the fleet, the Roslin's fleet on the Astral Queen, and I'm just going to call them the Quorum. They're not the Quorum of 12, but I'll just call them collectively the Quorum for right now, just to make it easy here. Talk about how they're worried about Apollo being Adama's son, but Roslin vouches for him. And Zarek starts making this argument, is like, well, if Galactica could jump here and charge us all with treason, some of our ships are armed, we should start, making efforts to arm the rest. And Lee sort of argues, like, no, that would be suicide. Any step to arm ourselves would, like, the Galactica, if they wanted to come and take us out, they could, and no one should be under illusions of anything different.
Which, and then it honestly makes a lot of sense. Like, if you have no chance, better to not even kid yourself into thinking you do. Just run.
Yeah, because otherwise you will get yourself killed. So, yeah, it's either just run or just surrender. So, like, yeah, it's just one of those. Otherwise, you just are going to get yourself hurt. But Roslin sort of argues that Starbuck will return with the arrow of Apollo and will lead us to Earth. And, they need to go down to the surface and look for the tomb, but they argue, hey, there might be Cylons down there and some of us will die. And Apollo's like, yeah, that's almost certainly the case. And then also the priest who's there, Alosia, says the scriptures say that any return to Kobol has a cost in blood. So that's basically the arguments that are sort of happening here. During all of this, Myers comes up to Zarek and whispers in his ear and sort of takes Zarek away. To another situation. But any notes on or any thoughts on any of that?
No, not really.
Okay. So they go into the bridge, for lack of a better word, of the Astral Queen, and they see something on Dratus, and it's too large to be Starbuck's Cylon Raider. So they think it's either a Raptor scout or a Cylon ship that's come to scout them. Either way, they think they should shoot it down. But then Roslin and Apollo come up, and Zarek defers to Roslin and says, you need to make a decision. But Roslin doesn't say anything because by a certain point, it's revealed to be Starbuck in the Heavy Raider.
Yeah, naturally.
Mm-hmm. I did find that the only thing to note about this scene is it is interesting to me that Zarek does defer to Roslin at that point. Because he could have arguably made a decision as the head of the ship.
Yeah, so. He could have. And also, like, this isn't in front of, like, all the other heads of the ship. So it's not like he would have had to keep up appearances. He could have just made a call.
Yes, he could have. So, yeah, it just, I found that to be an interesting note there. But then Starbuck comes aboard. She sees Lee, and they hug, and then they kiss. Yeah.
Verbatim note. Oh, come on!
Yeah. It's gonna get worse later. There's a scene later that I fucking despise.
So, the thing I'm gonna note here is you say they kiss. Lee's the one who goes in for the kiss. She does accept it, but afterwards she's kind of like, oh, okay. So, like, he initiated that.
Yeah, and she says, good to see you too, Captain.
Yeah. And that matters to me because, spoiler, Apollo's going to be a real piece of shit in this episode. I actually think I fucking hate him. I'm really getting to that point where I fucking hate this guy.
Yeah, there's a scene later on in this episode where I just wrote, Apollo's a fucking dick, and it did make me heavily dislike him.
Yeah. I'm kind of out of patience for this guy. I gave him I think maybe more of a leash than I should have. in the first season because I knew that he was meant to represent like this, the slightly less seasoned, the slightly more emotional,
idealistic,
slightly more idealistic, more emotional than his father, not as emotional as Starbuck. Kind of trying to ride that line, and I gave him some leeway, knowing what his place in the, in the cast was. I kind of don't care anymore. I'm kind of fed up with this guy, and we'll get into more of the reasons why.
Yeah, I really do not like him. After this episode especially. But anyways, which is funny because I remember liking him as a kid. So I'm curious to see if my opinion on him will shift or I just age as change my opinion on him.
I think you just had a more simplistic view of characterization as a kid and you just didn't clock a lot of stuff.
I don't disagree. Toomer then comes on board the ship, and Lee sees her and instantly grabs his gun and pulls it on her, shoving her against the wall. And then Hilo comes
Okay, well,
around.
hold up. Shoving her in the wall and sticking his gun in her mouth.
Oh, I thought it was on her cheek.
It is when it cuts away. I would maybe it would he is definitely pressing against her cheek later. I could have sworn he stuck it in her mouth initially.
I will double check. But while I'm doing that, I will also say Hilo comes up and he puts his gun behind Apollo's head and says, put the gun down, sir. So there is that standoff that's been created. But let me quick see here if I can find it, because we do get this scene is broken up by a cut to the credits. So let me see if I can find it. I got it right here. No,
it's the cheek.
It is the cheek. I can see why you got there though, because there is a shot there where it does look like he put it in her mouth.
Yeah.
But I think that was just probably an awkward take by the actor, because he shoves her against the wall. The gun goes there, and I think it actually is at her mouth. But then they cut away real quick from that, and then it's on her cheek instantaneously the very next shot.
Okay.
So I think it just was an awkward take by the actor.
All right, fair enough. He's still it's not enough for him to pull a gun. He has to shove her against a wall and press it directly against her. That is still going on regardless.
Yes. To be fair, I not that I agree with what he's doing. I understand his response, considering she shot his dad.
I do too.
Not saying I agree with it. I understand.
I get it too, but file it away, because it is less a thing by itself as it is in conjunction with other shit.
Yes. Well, we do have a little bit of a standoff here, as I said. But Roslyn steps in and basically says, lower your weapons. And Hilo sort of says, well, what about Sharon, Toomer? And Roslyn says, we'll put her in a holding cell where she'll remain unharmed. And Hilo sort of says, well, shall we do what the nice lady says, Apollo? And I love how Apollo says she's the president of the colonies, you moron. And I like that because it reminds me of oh yeah, Hilo has no concept of any of the shit that's gone on for everything else in the rest of the series.
Yeah, he has the least conception of what's been going on of anybody here.
Yes, which is really, really funny. But everyone does lower their weapon, and as soon as they do, Roslyn looks at Sharon and tells the guards, throw that thing out of the airlock. Instantaneously. So
here's what I found really interesting about that. Not what Roslyn said. That was interesting, but to me what was really interesting is that Starbuck not only doesn't say anything, but honestly her reaction, to me at least, read like she kind of expected this was going to happen, or at the very least knew it was a strong possibility and didn't intend to do anything about it if it did happen.
Yeah. I think it's very...
Because, she was there the last time Roslyn put a Cylon out the airlock.
And she seemed a little shocked then.
Yes. And not so much now.
Yeah. She is shocked when she learns from Lee that, because while this is all going on, everything's hectic, and Sharon's sort of being pulled into towards the airlock down the hall. Lee tells Starbuck about what happened to Adama, and says, you missed a few catastrophes or two, and about the surgeries that Adama had. Hilo's sort of arguing, pleading, is that Sharon saved our lives. He's pleading with Starbuck to tell the president what she did. And then Toomer yells out, "I know how to find the tomb of Athena," which also seems to get Rosalind's interest as well. And then Starbuck kind of nonchalantly gives Rosalind the arrow of Apollo, which she sort of looks at, and then Rosalind sort of makes the determination, tell them to wait a minute, and says, "I want to have that young woman." She pauses for a second before she refers to Sharon as a young woman, but says, "Set her up so I can talk to her." Yeah, essentially. Yeah.
And again, I just found Starbuck making zero move to do anything about this and just being like, "Yep, nope, that's fine."
Yeah, I do wonder, there's a couple where you could read Starbuck handing a Rosalind the arrow, her being like, yeah, let me try and, it's a way of convincing her, but not overtly. Like, I think she's kind of very
I think
indifferent.
you are out on an extraordinarily thin limb.
Yeah, I think it plays more
I think that is a bare, dried out twig that you are out on right now, and I wouldn't trust it with any weight.
Yeah, it's true. Starbuck just at the very least gives off indifference at most. So,
there's a little bit in her performance. Like, she doesn't strike me as happy with what's going on, but she never seems to have any intention to step in or do anything about this.
Yes, very much. Yeah, I agree. Anyways, we then cut over to Adama cracking walnuts with his bare hand.
Yeah.
I was like, damn. All right. And he's sitting down with Ty as they go over the different applicants, or possible candidates, I should say, not really applicants, candidates for a new Viper CAG. Ty sort of is going through and is like, look, there's not another Apollo in this bunch. None of them are going to be Apollo. But then while they're having this conversation, Lieutenant Birch is his name, excuse me. Lieutenant Birch.
How many names does this fucking guy have?
Birch is his name. Lieutenant Birch, one of the Viper pilots, comes in, and Adama promotes him. Says, "We need a new CAG. Congratulations, Captain. You'll have the total support of myself and this entire crew." Birch says, "I won't let you down. I was a tremendous supporter of your son. He was a great leader." Adama says nothing to that, but then kind of goes off on the speech about a ship is family, working on trust and love. "I love everyone on this ship as much as I love my sons," because he sort of stumbles on the word sons. "Galactica is a family. You're an important part of that family. You'll do fine. You'll do a fine job." Dismisses Birch, and then Ty goes, "What the hell? You already made the choice." And Adama says, "I wanted to see if we were on the same page. Obviously not." And Ty sort of argues that kid is not leadership material. It's very clear Adama says he's a good man, and then emphasizes honesty and loyalty. We need a little bit of that. And so Ty says, "It's your call. I'll support it."
Yeah. So I kind of like the way that Adama is, tried to see if the two of them were on the same page, because, when we come into the scene, you have Ty, saying, "Well, what about this one? What about that one?" None of the ones he suggests are the dude who walks in. So I do think that's an interesting way for Adama to just kind of clock where things are at. But yeah, nobody seems to be in tune with him with this decision that he has made.
Yeah, and it's just interesting to me that he's emphasizing family and loyalty. That's clearly where his head is at and what he's valuing, because he feels, we'll talk about it more when he opens up about it later on, but definitely feeling betrayed by Apollo.
Yeah.
Yeah, very, very, very much so. But I like how it's shown through all of this. We then cut to Adama giving a press conference, and I like how kind of normal it is. It starts off like everyone's yelling at him, and he's just sort of like, "Is this thing working?" And they get the microphone set up.
Yeah.
And he sort of gives this speech where he says, "The fleet has been divided. We share the grief of friends lost and resources we sacrificed, and new challenges for all of us." Basically, his speech is sort of presuming that the fleet that is part of the fleet that is left is already dead and gone, and he has no intention of bringing them back. And when the press starts asking questions, they start asking, "Do you know about the coordinates are? Do you intend to put the fleet back together?" And he reemphasized Rosalind is no longer president. She gave up that role, and she supported mutiny on this ship. We lost no one that can be replaced with someone loyal, again emphasizing loyalty, and that this is the fleet. So he has clearly signaling zero intention to go and get the rest of the fleet.
Yeah, big emphasis on loyalty. It actually stood out to me more this time than when he said it the first time. Because here, like, you know, when he's saying it to Ty, that could almost be taken as a little tiny bit of vulnerability, that this is what's important to him right now. But for him to say that in front of the press is like, oh, okay. That kind of brought a different weight to it.
Yeah, it's given off, not that he's heading down that route, but it is given off that sort of fascist, we praise, not to say that Adama's a fascist, but he is sort of leaning into that, like, I desire loyalty above all else sort of thing, over competency.
Loyalty is what really matters to me right now, which, again, I think plays better here than it might have otherwise, because this has not been like his biggest emphasis in the past, but it is now because that's the way he has been hurt. And so he's guarding himself against that specifically.
By numerous people, too. By Boomer, by Apollo, by Starbuck, by arguably Roslyn. I mean, I doubt he really considered her like someone loyal to him, but still feels a little bit betrayed. So yeah, he's feel betrayed by numerous people at this point. Most of all his son. So
yeah.
Yeah, and then the other thing that comes up, and this got into real close into like, oh man, he's getting into fascist territory real quick, which someone asked him, is there any truth to the rumor that you made up Earth and that that you just lied about it? And he sort of says, what hell kind of rumor is that? Freedom of the press is not a license to slander. Broadcasting that garbage is the quickest way to a holding cell. And I literally wrote like, overreach of power.
Yes, I don't disagree. But where my brain immediately went is, where the fuck did that come from and who spread that around? Because, like, I know that the rumor mill has just, like, been a fucking thing. Pump the brakes on this one, because literally there were only 2 people who knew that. And that's him and Roslyn. So, legitimately, I'm going to be annoyed if the show doesn't answer where the fuck that came from.
I mean, I could believe it just as that's a rumor that I could buy just generally being created. As like people just being like, I don't think he knows what's like anything. I think
here's the thing. I don't disagree. But introducing that idea this way is so specific and targeted, I still call bullshit. Because to excuse it that way is to lean on the idea of, people come up with all kinds of things. And I'm like, no. You have only ever used the rumor mill to reflect accurate shit that is getting around. And it has to come from somewhere. And it hasn't really mattered up to now where it was coming from. This time it actually does. And if the show had had to have him brush off intermittently, like, oh, so what are they saying now? Oh, well, now they're saying the Cylons are actually angels, or, like, if he had over the course of the show to brush off occasional ridiculous shit, then you can get away with having this be a, hey, stopped clock is right twice a day kind of thing, where, like, just people talking shit accidentally got it right. I feel like that's a cop-out under the circumstances and the way this entire rumor mill thing has been used up to this point.
Yeah, I mean, I can agree with it in the context of how it's been used up to this point, because the context of this point, the rumor mill has generally been right, as you pointed out, like, extremely right.
Yeah. To the point that, like, when they tried to have a line last season with, I think, Adama going, oh, the rumor mill's right for once. I was like, what do you mean for once? It's been right every fucking time.
Yeah, I do agree. Like, we should have seen a couple more instances of it being wrong to make this work a little, both this and the other times that it's come up work better.
It's become a bit of a lazy crutch, because whenever they want Adama to get mad about what people knowing what he's up to, they just go, oh, rumor mill. And like, at this point, it's become a crutch.
Yeah,
it's a problem.
I can agree with that. But I would say it's still like it kind of still works for me here to a degree in the sense that like I still buy this. I agree they should have set it up better in better context, but it's not so out of left field for me in this moment that I don't buy it as real. Like I agree it would have been better writing to set it up better, but I also don't. It doesn't throw me too far in this scene.
You are too easy.
I'm not saying I'm disagreeing. I'm saying you're too critical.
You are too forgiving. You are too easy.
And this is why you can't dom.
Thanks.
All you can do is brat.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Well, as they are heading out, Adama.
I'll cut that one. That was a little mean. I'll cut that one.
What? That wasn't too mean. You could go. No, I don't think that was too mean. You leave that in.
Okay.
You better leave that in. If this gets cut, I'm gonna be pissed.
You know what I could do to really piss you off?
Cut it and then leave that part in.
Cut it and leave you in, saying you better leave that in. Oh, that's tempting. And you probably won't catch this one because you'd have to go deep into the podcast to find out if I did it.
Oh, I'm not going to listen this far. I never listened this far. Listeners, you have to tell me in the comments. I will not know unless you in the comments say something. To steal from Brennan Lee Mulligan. Get in the comments. Anyways, we cut to, they head out. Ty tries to like calm Adama down, and Adama's like, "Get your hands off of me."
Sorry, just something about the way it rolled off your tongue. Calm Adama down.
Calm Adama down. Calm Adama down. Say that 5 times fast. But yeah, Ty also points out like it looked easy enough when Rosalind did it, referring to the press conference, which again goes to show like neither of these men are good at politics in any way.
No, they've never had to be up to this point.
No, but they very clearly are not. Adama's slightly better, but not by much.
Adama's slightly better insofar as he's never actually declared martial law, which, did that ever get reversed?
No, technically not.
Yeah, I made that note at this point.
Yeah.
Because specifically with Adama's whole thing, like, I forget what his kind of threat at the journalist was. With the instant he said that was when I wrote down, they never did revoke martial law, did they?
No. And
funny that.
And honestly, if you wanted to point it out too, like it gives Adama the pretense being like, well, I didn't, call it. It was Ty's. I was literally shot, but I've just taken advantage of the situation. You know what I mean? Yeah. Mm-hmm. So yeah, he has the plausible deniability of like, I didn't want it, but hey, I have it. So. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, we then cut to sort of continuously. Baltar sort of watches them head down the hall, and he starts talking to Head 6. And he gives this story about watching fish swim upstream when he was a kid, saying he envied them as unaware as they were of the wider complexities and challenges of life. And Head 6 says, "You're beginning to see human beings as we see them." And Baltar says, what I am is beginning to see silent faces everywhere. Sharon told me there were 8 Cylons left. Why didn't I bother to ask her who they were? And Head 6 says, you get yourself far too worked up about these things. And she sort of starts talking about Baltar as if he's not human, like one of them, as like part of humans. And she says, you have a path. You will be spared their fate. Stop manipulating the world and let destiny take its course. And one thing we know about human beings, they are masters of destruction. Self-destruction, I should say.
Yep. Which, yeah, it's
more just, philosophizing.
It's just them doing their thing.
Mm-hmm. Philosophizing on the nature of humanity.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. We then cut to Rosalind talking to Toomer. And she's basically not believing anything that Toomer has to say. Like, I hear that you're saying you came here because you loved Hilo and carried his child. But I think you're sending all this information back to the Cylons. Like, everything I say, I'm sure is being sent back to them. And Sharon's like, that's not how it works. Well,
she very specifically used an odd phrase. She goes, I'm not wired in. Which I know she didn't say I'm not wired in now, but that was kind of what my brain did. Because, like, I don't know whether to take her saying I'm not wired in meaning that's a thing we can't do, or that's a thing that I specifically am not set up to do.
Yes. Yeah, or I'm not set up now to do, like, it's not too far away.
I'm not currently capable.
Yes. So they don't make that entirely clear. But she does say it doesn't work like that. Which seems to lean in on they aren't generally. But again, it's ambiguous enough.
Like, that's, I would lean towards that's probably how I meant to take it. But again,
it's ambiguous.
My brain is kind of looking for the holes.
I think it's not even a hole. It's more of the writers probably being like, well, this is a phrase enough where if we want to change it down the line.
This is one of the things that, okay, I'm not making a call yet on what my overall assessment of the show is going to be. However, I am going to say now, one of the feasible ways that I fully turn against this show is if we get in the back half and I start to realize, oh, I was giving you people way too much fucking credit with how clever I thought you were going to be, and you're just not. Because, like, I'm still in this state where I'm giving the show a fair amount of grace in terms of, like, what I'm kind of like, ooh, that felt like a tricky thing. Maybe that's really clever. And if it just turns out later that none of this is anything, then it's just going to be like, oh, I just assumed you were clever, and you're not. I'm not making the call that will happen. I'm just saying that is a way in which this show could lose me.
We'll find out. I'm not going to say anything.
Okay.
But yes, Sharon Toomer argues, even if you find the tomb, even if you find the map to Earth, the price you will pay will be too high. I know exactly how to find the tomb of Athena. And Rosalind basically argues like either you know or you don't know. And she basically argues, Toomer basically argues, like, every Silent knows about the tomb. I can show you the path. I don't know how long or where it leads, but you're going to have to move very quickly. So basically she's saying, like, I don't know exactly where the tomb is, but I know how to get there. So yeah,
it's basically like saying, like, look, I know the road to get there. I just don't know where that ends.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, then we cut to Rosalind, Zarek, and folks, and I think Myers, talking about the conversation with Sharon. And she says, well, I believe she claims to love Hilo. She believes it. And I told her that I would throw him out of an airlock as a silent conspirator, and she believes that, like, whether or not it's true. And I think Zarek asks, is that actually true? Is that something she would do? But she doesn't say one way or the other.
Yeah, which is probably smart.
Yes. But she does love the child and loves Hilo, even if she thinks it's software instead of emotion. She thinks she's in love, and we can use that.
You know what threw me off? Like, I don't know if I ever knew Hilo's last name before this episode.
Hilo Agathon? Yeah.
Yeah. And it threw me off because she keeps referring to him as that. And initially it threw me off because she said, like, she believes that she loves him. She believes she loves Agathon. And, like, because I'm not used to hearing that name, I was like, did she say Agatha? Did they, like, name the fetus? What the fuck just happened? And I had to back it up and be like, oh, right. That's Hilo's real name. Jesus. Don't start calling him that on the reg, because I'm just, my brain's not going to get there.
Yeah. Well, yeah, so she's willing to use Hilo as a stick, essentially, threaten his life to get her to help. We also then cut to Hilo talking to Sharon, and he basically goes, this is not the way I thought things would go down. I knew they'd be suspicious, but, and then Sharon says, they're human the way you are. So, I'm like, Hilo, you poor, innocent, little child. Yeah.
Like, again...
Oh, yeah, I thought everyone just trust you,
The actor has great presence. Like, I am glad he stuck around because, like, he's charismatic and I like him, but I don't love the writing on him.
No, he's just a sweet, innocent little baby boy, Yeah. Anyways, we then cut to Zarek and Myers kind of conspiracizing. Conspiring is the word. I don't know what I was going to say. Conspiracizing.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. That was bad. That was pretty
Conspiracizing.
bad. Yeah.
It's kind of like jazzercise.
I'm a writer.
We conspiracize.
Yes. It's just like we're riffing, you know? It's like when we're conspiring, but we're riffing together, which is kind of what's happening here. Oh, sorry. I skipped ahead a scene, actually. He basically is arguing with Roslyn, saying, like, basically, Roslyn sort of sets her foot down and says, Apollo is my second command only to myself. And I would strongly encourage you to remember that Mr. Myers, speaking to him, because Myers was sort of like arguing that, that the Cylon encounter is probable, and Roslyn's like, that's something Apollo already told us, you know, and Myers was like, did he tell us something we didn't already know, you know?
Yeah. Myers,
so basically,
he's just kind of being a dick.
Yeah. Roslyn also says she's committed. She's going to go to Kobol no matter what. We then cut to Adama exercising while listening to the Viper pilots under the new CAG do a piloting exercise. And it basically just goes badly. Long and short, Hot Dog is...
Oh boy, does it ever.
Yeah, they're doing sort of a, target practice. Hot Dog is sort of sent in to do a second run at something, but Kat, just due to distortion, does not hear things properly. She thinks she is given the all clear by the CAG to go in, which almost causes her to get killed when Hot Dog blows up the asteroid right in front of her on the other side, but she manages to pilot her way through and survive. And Adama is listening in on all of it. So,
yep.
And the new CAG... Birch knows he fucked up because he's like, hey, everyone go in, and then as soon as he's off the radio, he goes, Frak. So.
Yeah, I know they're making a point. I can't help but feel like, because this is not the only scene we're gonna get, I cannot help but feel like they are overdone this guy's ineptitude.
Yeah, I think one would have been better, and frankly, the second one they do is better. It
is better by far. This one is superfluous.
Yes, and a bit overdone. But anyways, Adama's sort of listening in on all of that. We then cut to Apollo seeing Toomer, and he has his... Toomer sort of says to him, I know how you feel, I get it, but I didn't shoot him, it wasn't me. Talking about shooting Adama, and Apollo says, you're all the same. And she gets angry at that, saying, you don't know what the hell you're talking about. And Apollo pulls his gun on this, but Starbuck appears and stops him. She says, enough, you've done enough of that today. And they kind of have an argument where he says, you're the last one that should be telling us what to do, and you stole a Raptor. And Starbuck says, you clearly are the poster boy for military discipline, referring to his own mutiny. And she basically argues, like, you have had no idea what happened to me on Caprica, and maybe you should think about the fact that you may not have any idea what you're talking about. Which I actually really like in terms of her saying that to him.
In terms of her saying that, sure. You left out a detail that I thought was important, and is the reason that I wrote down at this point, Apollo's a real piece of shit.
Yeah.
He shoves Starbuck against the...
Oh, yeah.
Like, he's not arguing with her. He shoves her around, like slams her against the grating, to a cell or a cage or whatever the fuck it is that's in this room.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, he pulls a gun on an unarmed, caged person that, I'll set aside the fact that he pulled it on a woman. Like, that doesn't help the optics, but I'll set that aside. He doesn't think of her as a person. She is a prisoner of war. He pulls a gun on someone who is behind bars and unarmed just because she challenged him slightly. And then when somebody he supposedly cares very much about says, hey, back the fuck off, he shoves her against the wall and gets in her face about it. Fuck this guy!
Yeah.
Fuck this guy to the end of the galaxy and back.
Yeah. Yep. There's another scene, too, that
I know! But, this was the point where I wrote down specifically, fuck this guy, because watching him rough up Starbuck on top of this, I'm like, that's it, I'm done.
Yeah.
I have no more use for you.
Yeah. The two things that I will at least point out is I did like the Sharon pointing out, it wasn't me. We're different people. So that there is that distinguishing factor that
which
we've had hints of, but this is making that very clear.
It is, but at the same time, like I don't feel like that gives a definitive answer to the broad question of whether or not it is possible for them to have, shared knowledge. It just means that this one, again, as the way she put it, is not wired in. So very much of that, I don't take this as a definitive answer that it's not possible for them to simultaneously share the same information. Because there's been some of the other ones where it really did seem like they did.
Mm-hmm. And it is also worth noting, too, like, they both have Sharon's memories.
Yeah.
Up to a point. So, however, like, presumably, we don't know for sure, but presumably this Sharon has the same memories of the boomer that we were following on the Galactica all the way up until she left Hilo on Caprica way back in the miniseries. We don't know for sure on that, but...
Which is about 2 years worth of time. Now, I don't presume that she has whatever Galactica Sharon's false memories were. She might, but I don't presume that because this one has never been in sleeper age.
Yeah, at the very least, she's aware that she's a Cylon the entire time.
Yes, which is a major difference between them.
Yes. Anyways, where are we at here? Oh, and then the other thing is, I already noted it, but I did, like, regardless of Apollo being a piece of shit, I did like Starbuck being like, hey, you don't know fuck all, which at least is to some degree, not as much as he should be considering his physical violence, but at least is calling him on his shit to a degree.
Yeah, so. I'll take it, but, still, fuck this guy.
Yeah.
Like, at this point, we are in a Franklin in season 1 of Babylon 5 situation where this guy is on my shit list.
And he's going to have to work to get himself out
Yes, he needs to work to get himself out of the hole that he's in my estimation. And if he just keeps behaving the same way he has been, even if the show intends for me to like him, I fucking don't.
Mm-hmm. We'll see how that...
I'll note that Franklin did get out of that hole, partially because of headcanon, to be fair, but I don't care. She did get out of that hole.
Yeah, and I argue became a character that I think we ended up liking on the upper end of the characters that we liked in that show by the end.
Yeah, by the time it was done. Yeah.
So we'll see. Paulo can work himself out of the hole, but he's in the hole.
Oh, yeah, he's well in the hole right now.
Yeah. Anyways, we then cut to the scene that I thought we were talking about before, which is Zarek and Myers metastasizing, conspiring. Anyways, you go. I knew the word that time. I was just making fun.
You say that. I don't know though. I wonder about you sometimes.
Well, I like to keep people wondering. I'm just an international woman of mystery. It's fine. Anyways, basically, Zarek is kind of arguing, Myers is arguing, it's like, look, we have a fleet. Why do we have to follow Roslin? And Zarek basically argues like the reason we have a fleet is because of Roslin. People are following her. And I believe in the power of myth. Like, president or prophet doesn't really matter. She's the one that people are looking to, and they're not looking to me right now. And Myers basically makes the argument, it's like, well, she's going to need a commander, the man with the guns. Zarek makes that argument. It's like, she's going to need the man with the guns. And Myers argues, what if she decides that you're not the man with the guns? What if it's should be someone like a certain captain, referring to Apollo? Mm-hmm. And then Myers basically presents this idea of, and he doesn't outright say it, but he basically goes around and is like, well, what if we go down to Kobol? We do our best to save everyone, but what if a certain captain experiences an accident? To which Zarek sort of says, like, yeah, I didn't really think about that, but yeah, that makes sense. Let's do it. And again, this isn't outright stated, but that's all the implication.
So, one of two things just happened.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know which it is. But there was something about Zarek's line delivery with that whole, you're right, I didn't think about that. That just felt so artificial.
Mm-hmm.
One of two things just happened. The actor didn't know how to deliver that line naturally. I'm disinclined to believe that because he's been good up to now, but it's possible that he just gave a wooden line reading. If it's not a wooden line reading, I feel like this is a setup for him to turn on Meyer down on the planet, because it has the feel of that fake agreeing to, oh yeah, no, you're definitely right, I'm totally on the same page as you. It has that feel of that fake agreement that feels like a setup.
Yeah.
So it either is or it's a bad take.
Yeah, well, we shall see now, won't we? But yes, that was definitely my read of it as well. It was definitely one of those, like, I'm gonna make you think I'm agreeing with you, but I don't actually agree with you vibe that he's giving.
Yeah.
So we shall find out. That's for sure. And we can talk more about that, because I think the way that all plays out is going to probably color our opinion of Zarek a little bit going forward. So,
yeah.
Though to be fair, killing Apollo, don't really feel too bad about it at this point.
Yeah.
Anyways,
look, I wouldn't miss him.
Yeah.
To be blunt.
Yeah. There is also, regardless of, Zarek could also be making the calculus. I'm just making this argument either way. There's, the argument of, well, if we kill Apollo, then I now made an enemy of Adama. Not just, even if we make it look like an accident, you know what I mean? So.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll see how it plays out. Anyways, we then cut back to the Galactica, and we basically learn that the new CAG, Birch, is trying to help guide a tanker into docking with the Galactica for refueling, and he's basically been fucking it up for 4 hours now, and even Gata is and Ty are kind of getting exasperated with it. And Gata basically makes the argument he's too green, he's blowing the approach and docking speeds, it's a mess out there, and it isn't his first screw up. And Ty's like, he's your guy, but then Adama reiterates, yep, but he's no Apollo, basically reaffirming what Ty had said earlier.
Yeah, and again, this communicates how ill-equipped this guy is, because not only does this illustrate it a lot better than the previous scene, this one is also 100% clearly his fault. He poorly communicated last time, but there was also staticky radio that I don't think he gets to blame entirely for what happened, but was a compounding factor. Here, that shit's all fine, you just suck.
And it's something more mundane and a little less forced too, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it doesn't have the forced tension of the oh my gosh, is one of the Viper pilots about to get accidentally blown up. This is much more like, dude, this is a zero tension maneuver and you're still fucking it up.
Yeah, and I like it because it brings out the more mundanity of the stuff that Apollo probably had to deal with, being he had to do this shit all the time, and it was just stuff that we didn't see, but it's just mundane shit.
Yeah.
So I kind of like this a lot more for numerous reasons. So.
Yeah.
Anyways, we then cut to the aforementioned scene between Starbuck and Apollo, where Starbuck is throwing a ball against a wall, and Apollo comes in,
which feels like a very blatant The Great Escape reference.
Yeah.
Because she's there like Steve McQueen's sitting down with her back to, well, it's not a wall, it's the grating or whatever, and doing that toss where you bounce it off the floor, it bounces off the wall and comes back to you. Just doing that a few times, so it feels like a pretty blatant reference.
Yeah. Well, Apollo comes in, takes the ball, and basically, and I just wrote down, he's being a dick and a child.
He's being a dick and a child. Here was again though, this is in conjunction with the previous scene. Him going because he takes her ball and she's like, give me back my ball, and he's like, and she's like, give me back my ball, please, and he's still being a dick about it. And then when she's like, fuck it, just keep it, his line is like I'm just kidding around, and my brain went fucking ballistic and went, you shoved her against a wall 10 minutes ago. You're just kidding. Fuck you.
Yeah.
No, how about the words, I'm sorry, shithead?
Yeah, no, he's being a shit. And even when he gives her the ball back, he kind of drops it on her from above. He's like, you can take your ball and go home now.
Yeah, this fucking guy.
He's acting like a fucking 5-year-old.
Yeah, I really, really hate, he has gone from being idealistic to being a child.
Yep, an absolute child. He does have this sort of bit with her where he says, you know, what's up with you, Kara? Do you want to talk about it? I know being on, like, he says the right things here, but it kind of comes across as hollow. He's like, I know things must have been hard in Caprica. You know, I'm here for you if you need me.
Like, the words here in isolation are perfectly valid, good things for him to be saying. I don't buy a fucking word of it because of how he's already been behaving up to this point. Like, in isolation, this is a perfectly fine scene. In the context of the previous interaction between the two of them, no, fuck off. You don't get to treat this like it's in isolation. It has context, and the context makes you a piece of shit.
Yes. Yeah, all of his stuff, he says, I'm your friend. I love you. I'm here for you again whenever you want to talk about it. But Starbuck doesn't say anything, but then she sort of ribs him. Is like, what was that middle part again? Did you say you love me? It's very sweet. It's like, and he's just like, you dreamed it. And they kind of have a teasing thing back and forth. So. Which,
that's mildly cute. And I kind of was like, whatever.
It just doesn't read as well, again, in the context. Like, again, this scene probably would have read better if we had not gotten that earlier scene.
Yeah, so. Probably.
Yeah, but he's still acting like a child earlier in the scene. That threw me the whole time. I'm like, just fucking acting like a 2-year-old.
Yeah. And again, he's in the hole, so I really don't give a shit.
Yeah. Well, we then cut back to the Galactica, where again Adama sort of calls off the tanker refueling up, because he's like, this isn't fucking happening. It's not working. But the op isn't called off fast enough because the ship collides with the tanker, and the tanker's overall not destroyed or anything like that, but it did take some damage. So, Yep. So, he's fucking up. We then
this guy's a complete disaster.
Yep. We then cut down to Kobol. So we have our crew down on Kobol, which consists of Myers, Zarek, Aloja the Priest, Roslyn, Apollo, Sharon, Hilo, Starbuck, and a couple random guards.
Red shirts!
Yeah! Actually, weirdly not. They all survive this battle.
One of them definitely got gunned down.
Oh, did they? Okay. There's one person that definitely dies. But
there was a person there was definitely a red shirt that went down because the squibs reminded me of what's his face taking all the shots.
Yeah.
From the last time there were people here.
Well, at least one of the guards survives to the end of the episode. So I'll give one red shirt gets to live so far. So there's still
another half.
There's still a part 2. Anyways, basically, I liked some of this backstory we get here. Well, first off, Apollo gives Zarek a gun. He says, never know when you need to defend yourself. And Aloja the priest starts speaking some scripture that said, the blaze pursued them, and the people of Kobol had a choice: either take the great ship or the high road up the rocky ridge. And then the bodies of each tribe's leaders were offered up to the gods in the tomb of Athena. And so some of the people left on the great ship, which took off from where they are specifically standing, and that just Sharon sort of takes over this narrative. And the rest of them, and that ship took them to quote unquote to their destiny. And the rest of them took the high road along the rocky ridge that led to the tomb. And then we cut over and we see that there is a rocky ridge there. So this is the pathway to the tomb.
Yep.
And that Sharon knows this. Yeah.
Yeah, I did find it interesting that Sharon basically takes over the recitation word for word without the book, because the priest is reading it. She's not going from memory, but Sharon knows it from memory.
Yes.
That was interesting.
Yes. I also will not touch upon some of this stuff because that will be spoilers. But I will say I did find the idea of so basically what we're getting from this backstory was the humans lived on Kobol. Something came to Kobol that they were running away from, and the group basically split. One group left in a great ship to go to the stars and presumably went on to found the 12 colonies from there, and then another group stayed on Kobol and went towards the tomb of Athena. And there's something about the leaders of each tribe of the 12 tribes offer themselves to the gods in the tomb of Athena.
would seem to imply a like that this has a lot of religious parallels. It would seem to imply Earth as the lost 13th colony, not just like as the origin from which these people supposedly came from originally, but like that the people who were not amongst the 12 colonies may have, or at least would have attempted to go back to Earth, itself, which is interesting. It's kind of having their cake and eating it too, in terms of how Earth figures into this.
Yeah.
Like whole thing, the idea of like, well, yeah, maybe they came from Earth originally, but then also maybe it is also a lost 13th colony at the same time. Now, whether or not that'll turn out to be the case insofar as they actually were able to get back to Earth, at the very least, these people, Rosalind and the rest of them, have to have faith that they had the information in order to get to Earth. Whether or not they succeeded, we don't know, because that's not in their scripture, because their scripture is written by the 12 colonies that left.
Mm-hmm.
So it is interesting, and I'll be curious to see if they actually kind of grapple with the religious implications of this, because you'd think that on paper they're basically now following a heretical path.
Mm-hmm.
Because this was the path of the people who were lost, who were left behind, who did not travel as their religious text says that their people traveled. Like it's kind of like, I mean, in terms of the Christian Bible, it's kind of like trying to find the land of Nod where Cain was banished to after he got kicked out of the Garden of Eden. And I'll be curious to see if they grapple with that, because that has a lot of potentially interesting religiously tinged moral implications, of, are we walking a for lack of a better way to put it, an unholy path just for the sake of our survival?
I'd
be really curious if the show goes there or not.
I will not say anything on all of that, other than to say this backstory is important. So good. Just wanted to clock it. The only thing I will point out that I find interesting, just from my perspective, that I know, I'm actually just more curious your read on it.
Okay.
Obviously, you and both of us have this issue with like, predetermined destiny stuff. Like, everything was sort of predetermined. Yeah. One word that is noted here, though, is the people who left on the great ship to found the 12 colonies. It said it took them to their destiny. So it's interesting to me that like it's one of those things. It kind of comes across as one of those things of like, their destiny was to found the 12 colonies, but that is a narrative given after the fact. You know what I mean? Used to justify, like, the people who went to found the 12 colonies wrote down in their sacred book that the people who went to find the 12 colonies were following their destiny. It's one of those, like, the narrative of destiny is written after the fact.
It's written in hindsight.
Yes, but then people later on be like, yes, of course it was their destiny because they ended up there. Like, we see how that happens, but it was a justification written after, which, given we've heard a few things about like, destiny or the roles we're playing, and then also this idea of all this has happened before, all this has happened again, just though it's an interesting idea to put into this mix of destiny being a justification. So I just wanted to, there's only so much I can say about that, but I wished an idea to toss into the ether for you.
These are like none of these were at the forefront of my mind, but I think like there was part of my head that was just kind of in that same area, just in terms of like when a character says a word destiny, I take that as one of two things. Either I take it as the show trying to tell me, hey, this is all destined, at which point I go, fuck you, because I hate that shit. Or it is characters trying to justify a thing that they have decided to do, but are trying to absolve themselves of responsibility for, or are trying to otherwise justify their choices in a way that that doesn't require them to actually own up to anything. And I'm inclining the show as being more towards the latter. And I've kind of been assuming that for most of the time. Like I know in some larger scale way, it's going to circle back onto the this has all happened before, this has all happened again thing. But I still, at this point, am not taking just the word destiny at face value. Now, that's partly a me thing, because if I took it at face value, I'd kind of have to ask you to stop and we pick a different show, because I don't want 4 fucking seasons of Destiny bullshit.
Yeah.
So if I thought that's what I was getting, I would have told you.
Yeah. I will just put that out there. I will just say I do think the show deals with it. Whether or not we will feel it handles it well, I don't even remember. So we'll see. But I remember it being a thing that is discussed quite heavily.
I do know that the general fan reaction is that the second 2 seasons aren't as good and the finale sucks. Mm-hmm. So I'll be. But
as a kid, I remember being a big defender of the finale. But I will see. Again, we've already determined that young me was an idiot when it came to certain things. So
yep. Young you liked Apollo, so clearly you were a dipshit.
Yeah, very much so. So we'll see. We'll see how it all shakes out. I legitimately do not 100% remember. I do remember it being a big conversation though, and all I will say is this: is like I tend to really like narrative. Like I mean, if people have read my other videos or watched my other videos, people know that I am a really big critic of the Joseph Campbell heroes myth, monomyth bullshit of thing, which is that exact idea of like, oh, there's only one story and we keep cycling back and forth over and over and over and over again. And I find that concept to be bullshit, but it is a concept that is created by like Western culture to justify a lot of its power, continually cycles of like oppressor and oppressed and all of this bullshit. So I like stories that address that idea of that cycle and tear it down. And, but I hate stories that just take it as read. And I know that the show, all I will say is I know the show has some commentary on it. I know some specifics that I won't spoil for Vera right now, but I'm curious to see how far it will go and how well it'll handle it, is basically what I will say.
That will be curious. And like my general thing with like the monomyth and in the hero's journey is like, I don't mind stories that use it as a template. I do mind when they think they're clever for pointing out that they're using it as a template. Like that's where you lose me. Like if you want to use it as a model for how to map out your story, I don't fucking care, man.
Oh, I don't mind. I like as a story. It's like it's Star Wars shit. Like it's fine. Yeah. Like it's fine in terms of just like a story template, but it's also a template that is used to justify like real world stuff. Like let me get to an example that I actually wanted to bring up here, and then we'll move on because I don't want to. We're already going long on this episode. But one thing that I've been writing about for my Star Trek book, because I'm talking about it in terms of like how people think about Star Trek as a franchise, is how Western culture has this very overt view of linear time, and time as like a progression, like a natural progression that always leads to Western civilization, essentially. Like, oh, Western civilization is the most evolved form of humanity and everything else is primitive or behind. So like even cultures living contemporaneously with us today are viewed as quote unquote primitive or more natural. It's how you get that right-wing bullshit of like Matt Walsh going to an African fucking tribe and being like, look, they're more closer to the natural way humans have been and they understand gender roles and men and women, ignoring that he's ignoring the gender roles of a lot of those tribes as well. But that's like their sort of argument that sort of press it into this sort of like progressive like narrative, and conservatives or right-wing people be like, we gotta go back. Whereas like even quote unquote liberals sort of have this view of like, and this is sort of getting into the Star Trek of it all sometimes, where it's like, oh, there's this natural, technological progression forward that's usually mired in tech and a lot of Western cultural values that are not necessarily actual linear progress. Like even the idea pre-warp, civilizations are pre-warp, that they will naturally develop warp as a benchmark for development.
Yeah,
that sort of thing.
Like there is only one direction for all things to go, and any given civilization is at a certain point along that path.
Yes, and some people would ascribe that idea to destiny and or God, which is, to bring it back to Battlestar Galactica, I think some of the stuff that this show is talking about in that context.
Yeah.
So
some people ascribe it to destiny and God. Some people ascribe it to, it's just nature. It's like, I actually saw a fascinating, I know we're on a tangent. I'm just
no, but it's philosophically relevant.
I saw a thing earlier today, and I did look into it. There's actual like validity behind it, because I know like a lot of things just get said on the fucking internet. But like it is the narrative of economists that prior to money and credit as concepts, everything was on the barter system. It wasn't. Sociologists will tell you that barter only existed between people or groups of people who did not trust each other. Because that was how they could feel safe to give each other goods when they didn't feel like they could just trust each other. Like, okay, well, you get this, I get that. But within community, shit was just shared. Your neighbor needed something. If you had it, you gave it to them. If you needed something, you asked and someone in the culture gave it to you. That was far, far, far more prevalent. But it's ignored flatly by economists and anyone with an interest in capital when they talk about the history of civilization, because it is important to their narrative that money and credit and debit and the system that we have must be a natural evolution and a natural state of things, because then there's no reason to question it.
Yeah, it's that Hegelian, like, things, you know, dialectics cause the natural progression of humanity mixed with that Francis Fukuyama, like, the end of history capitalism stuff of, like, oh, look, we've reached the natural end. Oh, look, it's just, I really always love when, you know, people be like, hey, look, there is a natural endpoint to history and there is a natural way things have evolved, and it just so happens to look exactly like what we have made.
Yeah,
you know?
Ain't that funny?
Yeah, it's just really, it's like, you know, the best version of society is when it's capitalist. The best kind of person is a white dude, and look, it's usually capitalist white dudes who argue that point. What a coinky dink. So anyways, yes, we say all of that to say that is kind of some of the philosophy that I think this show is dealing with, and whether or not is equipped to handle it well, we shall see. But it's certainly bring it up for discussion, which is, like, let me put it this way. This is the kind of philosophy and discussion that I really fucking love. And probably if I went through look back at it, probably began with Battlestar Galactica in a lot of ways as an influence for me. That and probably dealt with a little bit of these things as well. Whether or not this was a show that actually just set me on that path of thinking about these ideas but failed itself but got me interested in it, or actually does it really, really well, I think we'll have to wait and see. But certainly it is a show that was influential in that thinking, as is being trans, because that's a certain obvious way of being like, yeah, no, the narratives that I was told to exist within are bullshit and I can just break them. So yeah. Anyway, yeah. I'm not saying Battlestar Galactica made me trans, but you know, did not do that.
I don't have to be a boy. And anarchy actually sounds kind of awesome.
Yeah, exactly. It's fantastic. Well, anyways, they continue along the path on the ridge, and Aloja the priest says, well, the path was supposed to be marked by gravestones, and she starts looking for them, and she finds a grave marker, but at the same time, she also steps on a landmine that has been laid as a trap by the Cylons that are still on Kobol.
And which they then immediately start firing on them from up the ridge.
Yes. So Aloja the priest will have a moment to mourn her later on, but she definitely gets blown the fuck up, unfortunately. And the Centurions start firing on everybody. And there's a big shootout. Hilo managed to take out a few, but the big thing that happens essentially is Sharon sort of uses the chaos to get away, and she grabs a grenade launcher, which Apollo then runs at her thinking she's about to use it on them.
Well, the way you're describing it is giving a wrong impression.
Okay, yeah.
Because she breaks away from the group. We don't know what she's going for. And he runs after her the instant she breaks away. Yes. Now, she does dive for and get this grenade launcher. And when she aims it, he seems to think she's going to fire at the group, and she instead fires it at the Cylons. But, like, he was on her ass the instant she moved. Like, well before he knew she was going for that. So the order you were saying it in didn't quite illustrate his behavior properly.
Yes. And when she does grab the grenade launcher, he sort of like tries to shove it down so she doesn't get a good aim on what he thinks is going to be at them. But then she overpowers him, and then she fires and blows up the Cylons Centurion, which, essentially saves their life. And he says, you got to be fracking kidding me. So.
Yeah, because he's an asshole.
Here's the thing. Apollo is an asshole. And I am a devil's advocate at this.
Of course
I will say, to a degree, I think he's justified in what he was doing here.
I think he is justified in being suspicious of her in general, but something about that "you got to be fracking kidding me" line didn't land right.
Oh yeah,
for
that
me.
line is
that line is the reason I'm calling him an asshole. His general suspicion of her is not my problem. And again, all this is made worse in conjunction with just how he's fucking been this entire episode.
Yes. I won't defend the line. The line was him being a dick. He didn't say thank you or like, oh, maybe I was wrong. Like, I don't think he was going to completely change his mind.
Honestly,
but, like,
I wouldn't have had him say anything. Just like looking at her, like, and just see the wheels turning in his head, where it's like he doesn't know what to make of this yet. That would have been fine. But no, he had to get a fucking line off.
Yep. Agreed. Yes, but yeah, I do think his suspicion of her and him trying to like stop her from shooting, I think makes sense in terms of like, she shot a version of this in his mind. A version of this person shot his dad and betrayed them. So
yeah, and again, like his suspicion of her, even him going after her in and of itself is not my issue. It is in conjunction with every other fucking thing.
Yes. Anyways, we then cut to what is perhaps my favorite scene of the episode, which is Adama is painting his model ship, and he has kind of a speech, and we don't know who he's talking to yet, but I kind of wrote it all down where he says, betrayal has such a powerful grip on the mind. It's almost like a python can squeeze out all of the thoughts, suffocate all of their emotions until everything is dead except for the rage. I'm not talking about anger. I'm talking about rage. I can feel it right here like it's going to burst. I feel like I want to scream right now, matter of fact. And it's revealed he says all of that to D.
Yeah. It was funny, like, I kind of initially assumed he was just talking to himself because he had no one to talk to, so I actually really liked the reveal, like, oh no, he is talking to someone, which really feels like it was building on last episode where he kind of has a breakdown over a corpse, because, like, he is lacking for outlets to process so much of what's going on.
Yes, very much so. There's no therapist, there's no one to talk to. And so, yeah, there's the reveal. He's talking to D, and then D says, do you mind if I say something? And he gives her permission to speak her mind. And she says, I don't think the problem is that you've been betrayed. I think it's that you feel helpless. You were shot, you were injured, you couldn't do anything. And he thinks that he basically says, don't make excuses for me. And he seems to be thinking that she's trying to let him off, being like, hey, look, you were shot, like, it's understandable. But then what she says after that is that, no, you let us down. And saying like actually not using that to excuse him, but to actually kind of both get at his emotion of like what he's actually feeling, but then also admitting what she's feeling and probably what a lot of people are feeling. She says, you made a promise to us to find Earth, to find us a home together. It doesn't matter what the president did, what Lee did, because every day we are apart is a day you've broken your promise. And then this is where he starts pushing back and saying it was their decision, not mine. And he dismisses her and says, thank you, petty officer. But then she keeps pressing and says, you asked me to talk, sir, maybe because you think I didn't have anything to say, but I do. She sits down and grabs his hand and says, it's time to heal the wounds, Commander. People have been divided. Children are separated from their parents, to which Adama gives her a look at that line. Yeah. And she realized she may have overstepped a little too far, and she heads out. So.
Yeah. And it is interesting to see him, very much confronted with the fact that he told these people, I'll get you to Earth, even though he never had any intention of doing so. And from the perspective of people who believed him, it's put up or shut up time. It is time to put his money where his mouth is because someone is trying to get them to Earth. Why the fuck are you not on board, dude?
Yeah, I really like that. And also this scene made me really like D a hell of a lot. I really liked that line where she says, you asked me to talk to you, sir, probably because you don't think I had anything to say, but I do. I really respected her for that.
This is probably D's best scene, and so I have complained previously about her kind of being used as a vehicle of self-righteousness in a way that kind of grated at me. This is also her being a little bit gentler about it, but this is using that aspect of her character for a much better purpose in terms of just showing her as a character and like using it to reveal stuff about another character.
Yeah, I do really like that, and it gave. I also think it shows us a little bit about her character too. I mean, not that the other stuff hasn't. She has been sort of like self-righteous and had very strong opinions, whether they be right or wrong, at different points. But this, I think, kind of shows like she is willing to stand up to people, even in a soft way, but she is willing to be like, I will make my point heard, even if it is to my boss. Again, in a gentler way, but it is said. So.
Yep. No, this was good.
Yeah.
And I really like that part of that line too. Like, maybe you didn't expect me to say anything, because like he probably just wanted somebody in the room
to just talk at.
Yeah, and she's not gonna be that, dude. That's not who she is.
Mm-hmm. So I think this is easily my favorite scene of the whole episode. So
yeah, no, it's good.
We then cut to Rosalind mourning Aloja the priest, who is dead on the planet. And she sort of says a cost in blood, and and Rosalind takes the priest's book, which is also covered in blood, as they head out. So
yep, there's a lingering shot of Meyer like looking kind of like real sad about what went on, which like fine, he's a good enough actor to sell it, but I was kind of like weird.
Yeah. So also, I do believe that she's also the only person of color in the group too, which is a little worth noting.
In this group,
black woman too. I guess Sharon is also an Asian woman as well. So
well, yeah. So like she is the only black, and also like it's debatable what the audience is meant to think, but from the character's perspective, again, Sharon doesn't count.
Mm-hmm. Yes. I yes.
So like you kind of get into a debate about optics versus narrative.
Mm-hmm.
Like the optics is that Sharon is a woman of color. The narrative is a little bit more divided about whether or not to consider her that.
Well, yeah. I mean, I've had this conversation with other people before. It's one of those like I don't always really love to sort of sit here and be like, oh, let's tally up like, oh, look, this black person got killed first. But it is worth noting as one of those things. Like it's a similar thing that happened in Star Trek Picard season 3, where there's two things that happen in that season where it's just like be slightly more self-aware sort of thing, where in that season there's a minor spoiler. One of the major villains of the season is the Changelings, and they are infiltrating the ship, so they're like trying to figure out who they are. And the two times that they find the Changeling and who they are, and like they're pretending to be a random crew member, they're played by women of color. So you just have our major heroes who are predominantly white shooting at a woman of color who is pretending to be like a shapeshifter. And then also at the end of the season, again, big spoiler for the end of the season, so skip ahead a few seconds if you don't care. The big ending reveal is it's the Borg are the big villain of the season, surprise. And the Borg's plan in that season is they take over the minds of the youth. It's like all the old, like the Borg have this ability to take everyone assimilate the minds of anyone younger than like 30 or whatever. And the character that they use to signal the leader of the younger Borg is the one non-binary character. So the Borg mind virus that's infecting the youth is led by the non-binary person. It's one of those things where it's like, I'm almost certain that wasn't the intention. But I'm fucking sure you can tell it was a bunch of cis white dudes in the room making these choices.
Yeah, to paraphrase myself, having said this repeatedly, when there is an underrepresented group, you might think that you are treating them fairly by basically treating things as like just being blind to that. It's like, oh, well, like it could have been anything, but I just these characters are just part of that group. Okay, but if they're underrepresented, to say nothing of whether or not it's an oppressed group in real life, let's even set that aside. If they are underrepresented in media, you have a responsibility to think about what roles you have given them and what that says and what that means within the scope of our media. This was why I lost my shit when Star Trek patted itself on the fucking back for introducing a non-binary character who is dead. Like, they're already fucking dead when they are introduced. And I've heard they're like, oh, but there's like some interesting things. I don't fucking care. I don't care because it was inserted by people with no perception of what it is like to go into a TV show or film, see someone that even vaguely resembles you in a way that is core to your personhood, and know that there is a better than even odds that they are going to be dead before this thing is over, and to be right. They don't know what that's like, and they do not take it into account. So
it's the same argument I had recently. Sorry, I cut you off.
Yeah,
Apologies.
go for it. It's just like I understand that this is almost never done deliberately. And again, what I'm about to say is a practice that by and large predates the show. So I'm not necessarily trying to hold the show on it. I am kind of just going off on a thing. But like, get fucking sensitivity readers, get people with knowledge outside your own, just to be sure that you didn't accidentally do something fucked up.
Yep. And it's also why I balk at like the criticism of or balk at people saying, well, in Star Wars Andor, it's minor spoiler for that show, a gay character basically gets buried or gets killed in that season. And a lot of people, including like other queer people, and Tony Gilroy himself was recently asked about this after I released my major video on it, where he was just like, well, I was just treating them as I would treat everyone else, which again seems fine on its face. But there's a history of how queer people are often overkilled, and like in the history of punishing queer people. So like there's a long history and context for how you treat people that is different than just everyone else, that he is actively ignoring. And I say this as someone who's loved Star Wars Andor, but it's like that's why that argument doesn't hold water for me. It comes from a place of like wanting to see everyone as equals, but we don't live in that society.
That again, to paraphrase myself. If you try and act as if we are already on even footing, all you do is embed the inequalities. Mm-hmm. Because what so many people, especially cis, white, able-bodied, straight men, but like creators across the board, because fucking queer creators have done this too. But when
Star Trek Discovery was run by a lesbian woman. So
yeah. Like fucking RTD on Doctor Who has pulled this shit. But when you try to, when it can seem like a noble thing to go, okay, I understand that things were not equal, but if they were, then this would be the way, to do things. Just treat everyone the same. Like, okay, but that's not the world we live in. Mm-hmm. And when you treat everyone the same, or you treat everyone like they are exactly the same, but some people are actually at a major deficit, then you're not doing anything about that, and you're failing to acknowledge it as a reality, and you are just embedding the inequality. The comparison I made years and years and years ago, which is, weird one, but I found it helpful, is like, imagine you've just got piles of stuff. Doesn't matter what they are. You've just got piles of stuff, and you go, cool, I'm going to treat everything equally, and when I add more stuff, the same amount of stuff gets added to every pile. Whatever difference in size there is between the piles will never have a gap closed. Mm-hmm. If you do that, you will never make up for the difference, and you are just baking in the inequities.
Yep. So yeah, just another long tangent there, just based on the priest character getting killed. So yeah, it's not that I necessarily want to
tangent us. What?
Yeah, I know, but it's worthwhile saying. But yeah, just going back to this point here with this is that, like, again, I don't necessarily want to take a tally of like every single time a woman of color is killed or a black person is killed on the show, but it is notable to be like the one named character, at least so far, that we see get killed on the planet is the black woman. So she is the one seen as most disposable by the narrative to a degree. Worth noting.
I mean, like I suspect I'll be devil's advocate now. Please. I suspect from the writing perspective, it is just a matter of like killing her is potentially the most disruptive because they are on a religious-based mission and they just took out their religious guidance.
Yes, and now they have to rely solely on Sharon, who's the one they don't trust, who knows the story. Like, it makes sense. It makes sense narratively. It's just one of those.
I don't even think necessarily that this one was done. I can't even think of the word I want to use. I don't even think that this one was done like casually or carelessly. Mm-hmm. I think this is just a case of the character that narratively it makes sense to kill is somebody they happen to have cast a woman of color. And that is not to let them off the hook, but like we are into season 2, I doubt that they cast a black person as the priest going, ooh, and then we'll kill her later.
Yes, very much so. I agree. Well, all that being said, we end into the final scene of the show where Adama is walking back to the bridge, and we hear Bear McCreary's music playing, and it's actually very good. I like this humming of like Apollo's theme sort of thing.
It's this last stretch. The soundtrack was very Braveheart.
Yes, very, very, very Braveheart, very much so. But yeah, he seems to have a change of heart, and he goes out into CIC and says, I want to see all the recon material in Kobol in my quarters, to which I forget who says it, but someone says Kobol, like Kobol? And he says, yes, I'm putting back the fleet back together. We're putting our family back together. This ends now. So, and we see Dee's face, who's clearly, not like overwhelmingly overjoyed. She's sort of keeping it down under military composure, but clearly seemed to be happy at that. So.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And that's how the episode ends.
To be continued.
To be continued in 3 weeks in our case. So.
Yeah. We'll see. We'll see how much of this shit I remember.
Yes. I'm gonna not. I know there's actually not a ton to do for spoiler minute. Next week's episode, I very much may use my my extra time. Is basically what I'll say. So there'll be a lot to discuss after next week's episode. Is all I will say.
Interesting.
So with that said. What do you think of this episode, Vera?
Fuck Apollo. I'm so fucking done with him. Other than that, it's progressing interestingly. It is. I'll be curious to see how it plays when the Galactica shows up again, because this. It's odd to me that it seems to be setting up, and we'll see, but it seems to be setting up that this splitting of the fleet is going to be resolved like 2 episodes later.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see if that ends up being the case. But I would be very disappointed if that is what happened. Because while I appreciate the and it's well delivered in terms of Edward James, almost like huge shock, but like, while I appreciate the emotionality of his journey to be like, no, it is more important that we be together and be united. Like, I appreciate all that. It's narrative really good. But also, like, you just barely split the fleet. Are you not gonna do anything with the narrative possibilities on that? Again, like, I keep bringing up Farscape as compared as a better thing, but it's like when they created a copy of Crichton in Farscape, and you expect that to be fully resolved by the end of the episode it happens in, but then it doesn't, and for like half a fucking season there's 2 Crichtons.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's kind of what I want, and I don't want to feel like I missed out. So I'll be curious to see how this resolves in part 2 and how fully it resolves.
Yes. I will not say either way, but yeah, that was one thing I noticed. It is a rather quick resolution to this, or potential resolution to this ending the fleet thing. So we'll see how much fallout there is from it.
Yeah.
Going forward. Yeah, I really like, again, fuck Apollo, but there's some stuff I really like in here. Again, some interesting things. And like, yeah, I like, we kind of philosophized about it. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff that I really enjoy here, other than Apollo just being a fucking dick.
What a piece of shit.
Yeah. I will say, since we're going to have a little bit of a break between this and next episode for both of us, we're about to hit a run of episodes that I'm really excited about. So that's why I'm starkly frustrated what we have because the next few runs,
we're coming up in a bit on the one that you said you wanted to be sure that we recorded the video.
And I did double check the episode that I said that we should do video on. It's episode 10, season 2, episode 10.
Yeah,
it is also an extra long episode, so I will forewarn you. I think it's like a 90-minute episode. There's 2 90-minute episodes amongst a couple of movies that we'll be watching. So that's one of them. So yeah, there's a good stretch of episodes coming up that I'm really excited about. And next episode's episode 7, but I will say episode 8 in particular introduces a certain guest star that I think you'll be very excited to see. So, yeah, there's a certain guest star coming that I think you'll be very, very happy with. So,
I'm curious for sure.
So, get excited about that. But we still have to wait 1 week for all of you listeners, 3 weeks for Vera and myself. But until that point, stuff time.
Stuff! You can find my stuff by looking for Council of Geeks. Patreon pays the bills, and it is how I'm able to do this as my living. That primarily is used to fund the YouTube channel Council of Geeks. New videos every Saturday. Because of our current recording schedule, I haven't got a clue what'll be out by the time you hear this. But new videos every Saturday. There's also the Break Room of Geeks, where it's a little less formatted. I talk about whatever I have watched, played, read, or listened to lately. You can also find Council of Geeks on Blue Sky. It's more or less the only social media that I use for that handle. There's other stuff out there, but it's like I don't care about plugging it. So to hell with it. So that's enough of the geeky stuff, I suppose. There's also the spicy stuff.
Spicy stuff.
And for that, you look for Vera Wild. You should know how to spell the last name by now, so I'm not even going to tell you how to do it. And you can find increasingly spicy content on YouTube, TikTok.
Well, you can find me at Jesse Gender on YouTube, where I do video essay style stuff. Not sure if it'll be out. It'll either be out or close to being out by the time you listen to this. I will have a video on Star Trek, the Ferengi, sex and Star Trek, that sort of stuff. So be on the lookout for that. It'll be a big essay that I'm really proud of. So it'll be in the near future. I am also on Jesse Gender After Dark, where I do news, reviews, reactions. By the time you're listening to this, I believe we should be about to start or have already started reviews of Star Trek Strange New Worlds. Also, Peacemaker will be on the horizon. I am also on Blue Sky and Instagram, are the two social media things that I kind of use, mainly Blue Sky, really. I am also on Patreon. That helps me pay my bills. If you want to support me getting to feed my cats and pay everything like my rent and such, you can help me over there. And then I am also on Nebula, which is a streaming service that houses my movie Identities, with a sci-fi film starring John Delancey and Abigail Thorne, which you can go check out amongst many others. And also, we'll have the series Subliminal, which I am going to be gone for the next 2 weeks as of this recording to go and film an episode of. That'll be coming out later this year or early next, so be on the lookout for all of that. Anything else, Vera?
Nah.
Alrighty then. With that, I bid you all live long and prosper.
Be seeing you.